Thank you.
It is so nice to have you here as a very good friend in New York City, and you've been so accomplished. And, you know, a lot of people know you for your advice. For everybody who's coming back again or new here, welcome back to the Stories Behind Strength. We tell stories about people who've shown mental, emotional, or physical strength to any limit. And Susan is a very good example of that because she changed so many things in her life, and she keeps reinventing who she is. And I am so pleased to welcome Susan today. And I would love to dive in to the self-identification that you have of yourself. If you need to say, who is Susan in one sentence, who are you?
Oh, Carmen, you always ask these questions, whether it's in a seminar or a lecture or whatever. Oh, God. You could have warned me that you were going to say that. Let's see. Who is Susan? I am somebody who has allowed new input in my life to transform what I think, what I feel, how I act, and what I might want to pursue. I think I've had a number of careers in a time period where you were really just supposed to pick a lane and stay in it. And I always feel like I've been like 20 years ahead of myself because whatever I did 20, even 30 years ago, now it's in style. But to do it at that time, you're fighting enormous social censure because you're not following the design. You're not following the model that you were supposed to follow. So I think if anybody's growing and they're really listening inside to who they are and what they want, they're going to alter. You have to. Imagine having a closed data bank where you take in no new information at all and let nothing on the outside change your beliefs. Not that you're a leaf that flies back and forth in the wind, but you have your internal values, you have your belief system, but we need to always be open to understanding greater, broader ideas, right? Because that's how you continue growing.
And I think that is what is making knowing you so beautiful, because you take in every information and you take in every bit. When we talk about what you've learned over the journey, is there a specific role model that you have in your head, maybe from your past, maybe there were more than one role model that changed the trajectory of your life?
I wish I could tell you I had a role model, but when you're the first one doing what you know to be doing, there's no role model. So I always felt like I was the first one to jump out of the airplane and figure out, oh, does this parachute work? I don't know. Because where I went, what I did, I didn't really have role models. As far as behavior, ethics, values, and how to be a human, I learned from my father. He was a very, very successful businessman in a brutal, horrific field that people now hate. But he was the last of the ethical men and oftentimes got fired from huge positions as a president because he had ethics and took the hit and would just go to another company and do what he did well. You know, it occurred to me, I was thinking in the shower before I came over here, I'm thinking, you know, what if I had 10 tips that make a human being dynamic? What would those be? And I think the first thing would be character. And character is woven into integrity. But I can't stress how important it is who you are when you're doing what you're doing. Now, we've seen people, especially here in New York, in tech, in business, in finance, we've seen them screw over other people, and we've seen that they've been very successful in doing so. And they're successful, but we don't respect them. We want to know them because maybe it'll help us, but we don't really respect them.
We can smell that something is off.
But why can't we be ethical and productive and successful? And there are some good cases of that in history. In business, you know, people, I think of John Templeton with the Templeton Funds. You know, somebody who, now he was a religious man, he started every meeting with prayer, but he was also a metaphysician, so he was very keenly aware of a more advanced kind of spiritual angle on this stuff. He wanted to do the right thing. And I think that if we're going to create something for ourselves, if we're going to be strong, and if it is about strength, internal as well as external, character is something that will truly define not only who you are as a person, how people think about you, how they want to interact with you, how much they trust you, and how much they trust and buy your brand and believe in you. Because trust is something that if you can prove that you're trustworthy and you're fair, you don't even have to sell. People will come to you.
That is beautiful words and a great way to start this conversation. You changed a lot and morphed in your career. You started as an opera singer at one of the best opera schools in the world, and then you moved to New York, and you kind of fell in love with this woozy city.
Yeah.
And then on from there, you went to be a broadcaster at what is now CNBC.
Right.
And moved on as a spokesperson, and now as a relations still expert. You're still featured in the New York Times. You were featured on Oprah. How did you know that one stage of your life was supposed to end and change? And how did you approach finding a new one?
Oh, God, this is so good. Okay. Oftentimes for me, the doors closed long before I was willing to have that happen. And typical of a human being, you know, we're taught, fight, move through it, just fight through the pain. But I started seeing with the singing, with the singing, I started liking it less and less. And I never really loved opera. I learned opera because I was a jazz singer, and I'd gone to the Aspen Music School. I didn't know what I was doing. I was singing Italian art songs like they were jazz, like Vittoria, Vittoria, mio cuore non lagrima più. You don't do that, right? So, but I had to learn it like you learn ballet to be a dancer, just a foundational thing. And when I came here, I'm like, I don't want to do opera. But the voice is very delicate. You get a cold, you're done. And it was just too, I don't know, I did operettas, I did a lot of touring. I did straight theater. I did a lot of restoration plays, English and French restoration. Loved that because I know those characters. I know what they're like. So, but it kind of stopped. Like things would happen, like an agent would die, or the field would kind of dry up, or I'd hit it at the wrong time when they weren't using legit voices on Broadway. And so the doors started to close. And initially, I think most everybody will fight against it. They'll double down and work harder and do more and look for more ways to be successful. And I'm not saying that's wrong. But for me, I thought, it felt, forgive me, like a tsunami, which is, if you don't know, that's my nickname for Carmen. It really felt like it was taking me. And at some point, I think I just went, fine. So I left New York, kind of not knowing. I was still a consultant. I had worked my way out of the business. Oh, CNBC, Financial News Network, was overtaken by CNBC. Then they brought in all of their reporters from, all over the world. So I'm like, okay, right. So I no longer had my show there. And then I built a home in the country, and I thought, well, I'm going to build a home in the country an hour from New York. And that's when another big change happened. I was in a place that was extremely remote. Not the place, time, or location to date somebody 20 years younger. And believe me, I paid hard for it, but I was not going to give up my relationship for social approval. And oftentimes I find that the price we have to pay to be ourselves is really forged in fire. I mean, honestly, if they could have burned me at the stake, they would have. I had a show on spirituality and higher consciousness in the whole tri-state area, and it was called Higher Ground. It was fabulous. I interviewed Carolyn Mays, all these incredibly big people that were there speaking. They were on PBS all the time. And it was like Charlie Rose's show. I mean, I had my whole hour just to ask them questions I wanted to ask them. And at the same time, I had my boyfriend's mother sign a petition and get over 100 of my neighbors to sign a petition to remove the show because I was a detriment to the community. You can't make this stuff up. And every day I'm in my gorgeous house where I put all my money, and I'm thinking, I can't walk out of the house. And I had to dig deep into my spirituality, and I had to say to myself, okay, these are really extreme cases. I understand I made a choice that not everybody understands. Had I treated this younger man like a toy and thrown him aside, no problem. Had I been a man, no problem. But I wasn't. And from that pain, first, like when you get a gift of an enormous situation, at first you think you're tormented by it. You're like, why is this happening to me? I'm a good person. I mean, I'm doing everything right. Why? I realize this is a little unusual. Why is it happening? And then I started to think bigger. I started to dig into my own spiritual foundation. And I thought, maybe it's not just about you. You wouldn't be given a situation so horrific, so out of the ordinary. I mean, I understand people not understanding it, but the degree to which these people went to torture me in this community, between the gossip, I couldn't even get gas. It's not self-serve in New Jersey. I had to go to another town because nobody would wait on me because I was a witch, you see. I put a spell on him because who would want an older woman? So this is what my day-to-day life. I couldn't even buy eggs. The girls would leave the line. They were afraid I'd put a spell on them, that I'd do what and that I had all these things going on and satanic rituals in my house. I mean, the stories were so exciting. The reality was kind of boring. Pizza on a Friday night, going to the mall, going to a movie. It was kind of boring in real life. But I realized that if I'm going through this and it's magnified, maybe there's a reason for this, because it's not normal. Okay, there's a little bit of dissension, but then there's like real out and out persecution. And then I told a friend of mine, she's like, we should write a book. So that's how I ended up where I am today. I'm not a therapist, didn't have time to go back to school. I was suddenly thrown into the midst of it. And now the Today Show called me a relationship expert. It was in the Chiron. So I to my knowledge, I'm the first one that they ever called that. So I just kept the title. That was 2000.
And that book became a bestseller from the get-go.
International bestseller, yeah.
Very great. And it's called Older Women, Younger Men. And you said to me that it was partially telling your own story, but also, taking the pain and seeing other people doing it. What was your mission? What did you want to communicate with that book?
I didn't care if just one woman in Ohio read it. If they were torturing her, I wanted her to know she's okay. It was the same dynamic as being in a same-sex relationship. But it's ageism. And it's a woman, God forbid. And if I had been a man, I had a Corvette, a BMW, a huge house. I was a great golfer. I mean, I was a state champion. Like, they hated me. And I had a hot young guy that loved me. Oh, my God. If I'd been a man, are you kidding?
You would have been the best success.
I would have been the coolest dude around. But I thought, he could have been another color. He could have been another religious sect. I mean, it's all the same thing. But when it landed on a woman, early middle age, I'm like, oh, God, So that, I think the switch for me was when my friend, who never worked a day in her life, had that idea. And I only wrote because I didn't know I was a writer. I only wrote because, she told me to write. She did just 3 chapters every weekend. I wrote by hand. I didn't know how to use a computer. I mean, I'm a singer. Why would I use a computer? This was not in a time period when it was kind of novel for people to have a home computer. This is very young. It's 90s. And and the thing is that when I actually got there, I had been so tortured by these people in my community for, 5-7 years, that when I got on camera and they started beating me up, are you sick? Do you have emotional problems? Do you have mommy complexes? I'm like, I'm so ready for this, because now it's not about me. You think about these people that have had horrible things. The mother that has her child die in a drunk accident, a drunk driver develops mad, uses that horrific situation through alchemy, transforms it. I mean, believe me, I tell you this so many times, Carmen, I did not sign up for young guys, I'm all about young guys. I'm not. But it was unfair. I was there, and it's what I was given, so I worked with it. And that's it.
I think that's one thing that is a line for your life. You work with what you have, and you create more out of what you got.
Yeah.
But there's that aspect that most people wouldn't see from the outside of your life, because everything you do looks easy, and you work incredibly hard. Every single day, you're one of the most hardworking beings. You didn't need to do all of these things. So what kept you working?
God, this is going to sound so elitist or whatever. I grew up in a world where I saw that a woman's greatest stressor was what she'd serve for the luncheon. And I thought, good God, please don't make me one of those. And I realized before we knew conversations about purpose, for God's sake, women had one purpose: look pretty and marry well. That's it. Oh, breed children. That's it. That's all you had to do. You went to college maybe to have more interesting conversations at dinner with your husband's business partners, but you were never expected to develop yourself. Never. And I thought to myself, oh God, kill me with a butter knife. There's no way I can do this. And I wanted more, but I didn't know what more was. And I think a lot of people are in that situation. Maybe, I know friends today, they've only been praised for their beauty. Look at all the young Instagram girls. This is their total focus. It's like a kickback. It's like, look gorgeous, marry well. Look gorgeous, marry well. Maybe you're doing Pilates, maybe you're doing yoga, maybe you're meditating. Do you know who you are?
Most people don't. That's the
I
answer.
don't think they do. And I think if you let life knock you around a bit, you'll find out. Because listen, it's either going to take you down or you will rise from the ashes and discover who you are. But sometimes you have to have everything you thought you had together just swept away from you for you to realize who you really are. For me, it was my reputation. I mean, that's a lot to be proud of. They were doing articles on me. They were using me as incentive bait to get people to come out to this community and build a weekend home here in the Star Ledger. I chose New Jersey because it was like an hour away and they had horse farms and stuff like that. And I thought, this is great. I can, make a commitment to New York. But I think if we could start to look at the drama, the chaos, the pain in our life differently, and we can find a way to utilize it and transform it to help others, to not just it heals you in the process.
You were talking about what a person is, and most people probably don't know themselves. I mean, I would love for everybody to find their purpose also through what I want to create with Trio, but reality is most people think that they find the purpose somewhere outside themselves and not inside of themselves. What do you think is a well-rounded person?
Oh, I'm not well-rounded, so everybody who isn't me, I don't feel I'm well-rounded at all. I'm very simple. I've got an on or an off switch, and if I'm doing something, I'm 100% on. I wish I had balance. I don't. I think you're well-rounded. You study hard, you work hard, you socialize, which is something, a skill that, I sit in the corner of the room like, oh God, I want to go home. So I'm not well-rounded. So this one I have to pass. I would ask you what you think about this.
I mean, I suppose that what you do in also your coaching sessions from time to time is that you help people identify what their, wrong mindsets are and their own wrong problems that keep them from finding the love that they want to. So that's why I asked that question.
Well, about I don't know that I'm well-rounded in that, but I think anybody who's a coach, if you've been in it long enough, you start to, it's pattern recognition. It's also you have to have a lot of empathy, and you need to be aware of everything, micro gestures, a fluxation in the voice. I've heard more when they didn't think they were telling me something. That's been the key to unravel it. And if anybody out there is a coach, I can tell you what has helped me. I do 45-minute sessions. I don't do an upsell. I don't want you for 6 weeks. If I need you for 6 weeks, I didn't do my job. It's the worst business model ever. Honestly, don't do it. But if you love it, what I try and do is fix them like an urgent care clinic. And I've got 45 minutes to get them in the gate, hear what they have to say. Half the time I know what I want to do in for the first 5 minutes, but they have to feel like they've talked. You find the thing that they've never considered that's going to have minimal collateral damage. And you have to listen to what they did and what they didn't do and what they never thought of. And that's I think, something really valuable. That if I could teach people how to find that, because it's in the conversation. And you must always give your client something. You have to give them information that agrees with their soul. If you tell them to do something and you say it in a manner that jars them because philosophically they're against it, they'll never do it. So, for example, there was a book written a long time ago, Why Men Love Bitches.
I know it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That was a great title, not what the book was about. People miss this all the time. The book was about speaking up, being yourself, having boundaries. Okay. I knew a woman who had zero boundaries, one horrible love life after the next, just men just running all over her. And in her desperation, like, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? If you have to ask that, you already doubt it, right? So she was very much opposed to this, and she had a huge reaction to the book. And I said to her, yeah, it's not even about that. And so I had to find a way to take that and verbally switch it to a language that she would understand, that she's not allowing him to respect her. She's not allowing him to appreciate her because she's overdoing everything and he doesn't feel he's earned anything. And most of us don't appreciate what we didn't earn, whether it's hard work or money, you know? So we had to switch that around. So if I tell somebody, yes, you have to leave him, he's horrible, or she's horrible for you, I'm going to get a lot of resistance. I have to find a better way to get them there that they'll agree with.
Very true. To keep with that topic, from your experience, how much about a dysfunctioning relationship is coming from the person itself?
Hard to determine unless you're working with them one-on-one. But remember, we're the portal. We're the assessment of all that we see and the stories we create. And I think no matter how hard we try, and this is just to let everybody feel better about themselves, we're going to have our own kind of groove in the record that we keep falling into, and that's okay. The steps to changing it is if you see it all the time, if you keep coming, you hear the stories about somebody that has trust issues because so-and-so cheated on, and they carry it into every future relationship. So that, as you said, would be our due diligence. We have to fix that, or we're never going to see somebody for who they are.
So you would say that one thing that hurt us once or something we learned in childhood, we do carry forward. How do you create change? You said for you it's rephrasing a lot, but for someone else who's listening there and you can't listen to their problems at the moment, is there a tip that you would say helps them to change?
I very much work with their thinking because I figure if I get their mind, everything else follows into place. I have to find a logical argument that their mind can accept. And unfortunately, unless I'm working directly with them, I might not be as pinpoint accurate. But one thing I've done in all my videos and in all my writing is this is horrible, but I just have to tell you the truth because it's kind of atypical. I do not take in outside information from the collective people that do relationship. I mean, I've already absorbed whatever the protocol is. Like a girl gets dumped in the movie, she could be nasty. She could tell him, "Oh, I already have a boyfriend." She could try and lie to him. She could pretend nothing's wrong. I've gone through the whole list. Like we already know that. So I'm always trying to think of how can I frame something in a way that has never been done before, and I think that trying to appeal to somebody's thinking, if you can make an argument that their mind can go, oh, I get that, then you've started to unlock that dynamic. And in partnership, I think there's what I call a double locking system. I use my own terminology because I figure the world has heard everything else that's out there. So when I look at something, I do Susan talk. I have great friends that are therapists, and they're like, oh, well, that's called a dismissive avoidant. I said, whatever, here's what you do. Because I don't care what the words are. When somebody does something, you've got to know what the action is to take, right? So I don't have time to get another degree. I've already got 2, so I don't need to go for a 3rd. So I think that finding a unique language sometimes, can open up the box. Like, Carmen, I was looking, I've done 1,400 videos, and as I'm looking at all these scam sites that are copying me, right? It's a lot to go through, but I remembered thinking in every topic, obsession, breakups, we know the main stuff. I keep looking for words and examples that they've never heard before, hoping that that's the lock that will work for them, right?
And it will also work for different people. Like
Yeah.
in the same thing that what you just said reminded me. In pole dance, most skills have a name. So I've done pole dance for 10 years, and my trainer never used the appropriate name. She just gave it her own names.
Oh, okay.
So like there's something that is called she calls Titanic, okay? Because it looks like Jane on the Titanic. And it's just not the real name.
Yeah, yeah.
And so whenever I coach people, or whenever people ask me what's the name of this or what do you do, I never know what it is, but I know how to do it.
Yeah,
I can teach you. I just don't know the right name. And I think that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the label says. I think most people are so obsessed with labels.
Yeah.
Like we try to give this, oh, this is a narcissist, this is a this is a
Exactly.
that, this is a this. But the label is always wrong in my opinion. And it just tries to categorize, but it's always, or in 98% of the case, the label is wrong. The same thing with labeling America as free and another country that doesn't have a democracy as unfree. Like that's wrong. You just have different trade-offs that you have to go in different scenarios. And same with relationship advice, right? Like if you're trying to put yourself in a label or someone else in a label, you're highly likely gonna be wrong.
Well, and we're not clinicians, right? So this is a trend that I understand the ego has to protect. It's like, oh, he's a narcissist. Oh, she's a dismissive avoidant. That's why she didn't want me. I know it's comfortable. Yeah, they didn't want you. Okay, so we'll tell you a technical reason why. But sometimes it's right, but it's still not going to fix it. But it's just a word you slap on top of it, and you're going to get more clicks. And I'm not sure that these people are qualified to even say that. So going back to the point that you made before, what is it about us that would be attracted to that kind of person? And can we change the type of person that we're attracted to?
That's the million-dollar question. What do you think is the difference between feeling strong and maybe confirming your ego, as you just said, versus actually having a strong relationship and a strong self-knowledge? What's the difference?
You got to be honest with yourself and honest with your partner. And that's sometimes hard. You have to know, okay, exactly how honest am I going to be? Because there's honest to the point that, and again, it's coming from our own opinion. It's coming from our perspective. So you've always got to take this into consideration. But I think with ourselves, an honest assessment of where we're strong and where we're weak. And in our partnership, I know everybody goes, oh, it's communication, but it really is. I have tried, long before I came into this business, I looked at every relationship I had, and I'd come out of it and I'd do an assessment, right? I'm like, what did I like? What did I do that I can do better? And then in the next relationship, I would try to correct that. And I remember I came out of a relationship with one guy that was incredibly difficult. And I'd always been on him for things. And I'm like, okay, this new relationship, I'm not going to say a thing to him. No matter what he does, I'm just going to check myself. Oh, that was hard discipline. I did that, and I think that I was trying to gain balance, because if we can learn from every single relationship that we're in and we correct ourselves, and also then like, why would I be attracted to this person? Was this the best choice for me? Am I ready to leave that kind of a template now? And then another cool thing is, another thing we haven't talked about that I believe in is creating your own love model from scratch.
What's that?
Well, it's a thing that I came to when I realized this is what I do, and I had to just try and describe it. When you meet somebody and you're attracted to them, it may not be that you're appropriate for you to, maybe you don't want the traditional box. Like, we have a standard protocol, a male and a female, and marriage and children, and that's the gold standard, right? We have very few people that can accurately fit into that, or if they do, sometimes they're exceedingly uncomfortable with those parameters. We live in a much broader time period now, but imagine I'm saying this 25 years ago, 26 years ago. So to know who you are when you enter a relationship, what you're capable of doing, are you capable of monogamy? Do you even believe in it? Do you know how many guys I had to ask them, you blew up your third marriage? Like, dude, you don't do monogamy, okay? Can you just admit this? You don't want to. Or if you really want to, get into therapy and figure out the reason why. But whatever it is, don't be greedy. Go out with 9 women, 9 will go, oh, I want monogamy and I want marriage and I don't want you. And okay, you lose those. But the one girl is going to go, yeah, dude, I don't know. I like it as long as it's good. And let's just keep talking. So if you know that there's something about you that you have to have or a way that you are, it's only fair to present that and create the design yourself. I think most of the divorces have been because, as I look back at mid-century, I think it's because they just fell into a pattern of trying to be something they weren't, and they were trying to hide certain things they want to do physically, sexually. They were trying to hide certain parts of themselves, and they felt very confined, and so the only thing they could do was to break away. So I think if we create our own design in a relationship, we're going to be happier with what we got.
Yeah, why should you divorce something that you created yourself, right? If you created, it's the same thing that I love your sentence, keep the vision, lose the guy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So in that regard, it makes a lot of sense. A lot of our listeners are looking for mental strength, for emotional strength. What in your life was the point that for you is a story of your own mental strength?
It happened when I was about 50. And I remember, I call it, in the book Allowing Magnificence, I call it the last card in the deck. Meaning, here I am in this beautiful home, in this beautiful community, basically crying every day. Can't go outside the house without people saying things, harassing me. It was just like, I was in an episode of Black Mirror, and I knew it. I just couldn't get out of it. And when I lost everything, I think the strength was when I had everything taken away, reputation, an achievement. If you go to the wrong environment, anything that you've done that you're proud of that you could do in New York, and people are like, wow, that's cool. You do it someplace else, it's like, oh, well, you did something sexual to get that house, or you're a criminal, or, they never want to give you credit. So every bit of social recognition, social currency, and respect was stripped away. And only then did I know who I was. I stopped playing by any rule I'd ever heard ever. I started doing things completely uniquely from my own guidance. It was a wild bet because I tried every single other philosophy, everybody else's directives. I'd tried it, I'd done it, I'd seen it. They worked sometimes, they didn't work all the time. And I thought, okay, last card in the deck. What if this incredible thing called life had left something inside us, an internal computer that already knew, and I'm just mucking it up by listening to all these cacophonous voices. What would happen if I just listened to that? I moved against the crowd. I made choices nobody understood. Many people got rid of me that thought, okay, she's just nuts. And I ended up from hated to valued to sought after. I found my way by completely losing everything that I thought was important. And then I gained strength because I do know who I am.
That is incredibly, incredibly beautiful. And I think everybody who listened to that feel how very true and raw that statement was. So allowing magnificent, in your words, is about taking everything that life throws at you and turning it into something positive. Is that right?
It's hard to do, but you have 2 choices. It's like, let the sword impale you or use it as a scepter. You got 2 choices, right? It's going to take you down or you're going to use it. And I think if we look hard, we can find a gem. I think we can. You have to.
Or at least have the hope that you can.
Yes.
Because maybe you don't find a diamond, but you find, a smaragd.
What?
But like,
What's a smaragd?
Oh, it's like a green.
Is it a German one? Is it a German word?
Me?
I love it.
Probably.
I love it.
Probably.
Or maybe an emerald, right?
Yeah, exactly.
A smaragd. Okay, fantastic. You're not going to find it right away, but there's something kind of amazing about dying in one lifetime and coming back as another version of yourself. Because when that one thing is just, they've just killed you. And then like you're on the ground like a puddle. You're like, okay, what now? Who? And let me tell you, This is so cool because I wrote about this. I wrote about this in 2004. And now I called it the ugly duckling chapter and the void. And I talk about that transit. And it might be something your listeners and your viewers are going through. When you evolve and change into the next incarnation of who you're going to be, there's a really uncomfortable time period because you're not that, but you're not where you're going to be. And you've left people that maybe wanted to keep you in a lesser role because you're trying to move forward, but you don't really have your new group yet. And this can happen in terms of business, in terms of psychology, in terms of friendship, in terms of anything. And I called it, the void, because there's like an empty spot. And I call it the ugly duckling phase. You're not a swan. You are like gangly and you're just not cool because you're learning who the real self is. You don't know. You've had this applied self of, I look good, I'm doing life perfectly. Now the raw self is coming out and it's not elegant. It's not refined. So it's interesting because I hear Chris Williamson talk about this on Modern Wisdom. He calls it the lonely chapter. I think all of us who have lived it have our own terminology for it. So I call it the void. And it's that gap. As unattractive as it is, if your listeners are at that point, I would urge you just let yourself go. Because where you're going is so much greater. You can't even imagine what is going to happen to you. Carmen, I didn't expect to be a writer. I didn't expect to have a career. I didn't expect to have all these followers and all this stuff. I didn't know I could do this. Life is just just pushing you there, And so people don't know where life, sometimes we're fighting life and it's trying to take us to our greatest possibilities and our greatest contribution, right?
Absolutely, especially when we have some spiritual awareness, and that takes pain to get to that spiritual awareness. But if we have that, we kind of autopilot life to a direction where every pain that we feel is a sign. Yeah. But we are on autopilot. We know where we're going. Like, we are on the same wave as life, and everything is a sign. And, landing in Boston instead of Newark, meaning that I can meet the coolest women of, Philadelphia, right? But the thing is that most people are at that point before spiritual awareness because they fear the pain that comes before that, and they fear the uncovering.
Yeah.
But I described it in a graph once, which is like your happiness parameter at a certain, of being very unconscious. And as you said, right, everybody goes through it and everybody has their own terminology. I have a different one. And so your happiness parameter of your unconscious is like kind of medium. But you need to go very, very low. And then when I was at that low point, I drew a graph and I was like, it's going to get better. And I didn't know because I was not there, but I just had the hope that it must get better. And it very much does. It very much does. And so with consciousness, I think it goes like a dip and then, you kind of get better at a certain level. But that's just my philosophy. And
no, you're absolutely right on target.
Absolutely beautiful.
You're right on target because if we're evolving, we are shedding the skin of who we were. And nobody talks about this stuff. It's like the most important things we never talk about. Like, why didn't you text me back? What is she doing? Does she love me? Is she dating Brad? I mean, it's like, that's not it. Like, this stuff is it. Like, what happens when you start evolving too quickly for the environment in which you live? Where do you find your support? And when you don't have anybody you can count on, you end up counting on yourself.
And that is where confidence and strength and self-belief lies.
Exactly.
And that's why you don't get it from being comfortable at all points.
No.
That is so true.
Growth, unfortunately, we all seek comfort. Isn't it so weird? We all want comfort. We want easy, and that's the worst thing for us. Too long. Yes, after the journey, take a breath. But humans, the minute we get an accomplishment, we're like, okay, what's the next mountain to climb? What's the next mountain?
I mean, we're evolved like that.
I think so.
To end the conversation, I would love for you to go into yourself and try to think about the 25-year-old Susan. What would you love to tell her, looking back now and having lived all of these lifetimes and reinvented and been a little bit of a phoenix? I would say maybe that's your nickname now. I'm your phoenix. what would you tell her?
You're going to be blonde. Blonder than you think. You're not going to be fat anymore. You're going to be very athletic, which you never knew you could be. You're going to date younger men who are very hot. You're going to come to a point where all this pain, all of the pain from childhood onward, is somehow going to help you to help others. And in the process, you're going to be helped. You don't understand this now. The very pain you're running from, that you feel so victimized by it that you don't understand how people can be this way. You don't understand the life you've been thrown into. Why would they do these things to you? Somehow, some way, this horrific pain is not only going to evolve for you, but be powerful in you assisting others. So there's a purpose to the pain. Hang on, little girl.
Thank you so much.
Aw.
That touched me so deeply. It's so beautiful. Thank you for your time, Susan.
Love you, tsunami.
I love you too.